The magnetic tape begins to spin inside the machine. Inside a secure control room, researchers stop what they are doing and lean closer to their audio equipment. They are listening to a low, guttural roar, vibrating heavily through the speakers. The sound is immense. It rises in pitch steadily over the course of roughly 1 minute. But this is not the raw audio. To even make sense of this event, the audio has been sped up 16 times, just so the human ear can comprehend the sheer scale of the noise. It does not sound mechanical. It sounds wet, resonant, and deeply biological. The origin point is not local. The signal was strong enough to be detected by sensors more than 5,000 kilometers away. Scientists stare at the data pouring in, faced with an impossible reality. What could possibly be loud enough to be heard across half an ocean? To understand how massive this mystery is, you have to look at where it started. And believe it or not, it started in the worst place possible. The deep ocean is one of the most dangerous places on Earth. At 5,000 meters down, every single drop of sunlight is gone. To picture this darkness, just think about the numbers. The average ocean depth is about 3,682 meters. But the deepest parts drop down to almost 11,000 meters. You are floating in a crushing, pitch-black void right here on our own planet. The physical pressure at this extreme depth is absolutely unimaginable. It is heavy enough to instantly crush a thick titanium military submarine like an empty soda can in a matter of seconds. There is no air, no warmth, and absolutely no mercy for anything from the surface world down here. If you still think that we know our own world, the reality may shock you. We actually know more about the surface of Mars than we do about this ocean. By April 2026, we had only mapped about 28.7% of the global seafloor. Even worse, humans have actually seen less than 0.001% of it with their own eyes. Down in this complete darkness, the ocean hides secrets that would terrify us. And on May 19, 1997, one of those ancient secrets finally made a sound. Deep inside a secret government room, a massive underwater microphone network suddenly spiked. This was a system called SOSUS. The United States Navy built these highly sensitive listening devices to track Soviet submarines during the Cold War. But by 1997, scientists at NOAA were using this exact same military tech to listen to the ocean itself. And what they heard that day shocked everyone. Panicking scientists worked fast to track where the signal was coming from. They traced it to a massive, empty area deep in the South Pacific Ocean, southwest of South America. Because the sound had a weird rising pitch, the scientists gave it a very boring name. They called it the Bloop. It was a funny name for something completely terrifying. Because for the next 8 years, absolutely no one on Earth knew what created it. When a scientific mystery completely breaks the rules of logic, the human mind does something very predictable. We instantly fill the empty spaces with monsters. And in the early days of this mystery, the most popular theory was actually biological. The recorded sound was so incredibly loud that everyone started asking the exact same question. Is there something much larger hiding down there? Think about that for a second. If a living, breathing creature actually made that noise, it would have to be gigantic. We are talking about an unknown animal, vastly larger than a blue whale. And do you want to know the scariest part? From a purely scientific point of view, this nightmare was completely possible. The deep ocean is still a massive, pitch-black frontier that we barely understand. People all over the world desperately wanted to believe in a prehistoric monster. They wanted a giant leviathan lurking in those unmapped trenches. But not everyone believed in giant sea creatures. Other, more practical researchers looked for a normal explanation. They suggested that the massive boom was simply an underwater volcano erupting or some other geological event. But there was a problem. The sound did not behave like a volcano. And that is exactly when the mystery exploded into a massive internet legend. Online sleuths looked very closely at the coordinates of the sound, and they noticed something completely chilling. The origin point of the sound was incredibly close to the fictional sunken city of Aurelis. If you do not know what that is, it is a terrifying place created by the famous horror author H.P. Lovecraft. In his dark stories, this exact spot in the ocean is where a giant, sleeping cosmic god rests. The internet went absolutely crazy over this coincidence. This viral obsession proved something very important about human nature. Our deep, primal fear of the dark ocean is stronger than ever. It showed exactly how we still use myths to explain things that completely terrify us. But real scientists do not care about internet stories. They had not officially agreed that a monster was out there. They needed hard, undeniable acoustic facts. And to find those facts, they had to uncover a hidden secret about the ocean itself. They had to figure out exactly how sound manages to travel through the deep abyss. To actually solve the mystery of the bloop, scientists had to figure out a massive physical problem. How could one single sound travel strongly enough to be detected more than 5,000 kilometers away? Think about how crazy that is. That is like hearing a loud noise from an entirely different country. The answer to this puzzle was hiding deep beneath the crashing waves of the surface. It turns out, the ocean has its very own hidden acoustic highway. Scientists officially call it the SOFAR channel. And the way this channel works is absolutely mind-blowing. If you dive several hundred meters below the surface, the water temperature and the salt levels combine perfectly. They create a very specific, natural acoustic zone. Inside this distinct layer, low-frequency sound waves literally become trapped. They bounce and refract endlessly without losing their power. Because of this perfect setup, a signal can travel for hundreds and sometimes thousands of miles across the dark ocean. This hidden layer acts exactly like a massive, global broadcast system. And humans are not the only ones who know about it. Marine life has been using this secret superhighway for millions of years. Whales naturally take advantage of the SOFAR channel to communicate with each other across vast, empty oceans. Humanity spent a fortune to build an incredible listening network just to track Cold War submarines. But decades later, that exact same military technology accidentally tuned into something completely different. It was hearing nature itself. Whatever created the bloop had broadcast its terrifying presence directly into this underwater sound channel. The scientific tools tracking it were absolutely flawless. The underwater microphones did not make a mistake. They just had to wait patiently for the data to finally reveal what the monster truly was. The year was 2005. After nearly 10 long years of wild theories, NOAA finally broke their silence. Their advanced acoustic experts managed to match the exact sound of the bloop to a very real physical event. It was not a giant undiscovered sea predator. It was not an underwater volcano erupting. It was an icequake. What exactly is an icequake? Imagine a gigantic block of ancient ice building up extreme internal pressure. Eventually, it cannot hold on. The ice fractures violently, and an enormous chunk completely breaks off and crashes into the freezing ocean. NOAA officially concluded that the 1997 sounds perfectly matched these massive icebergs tearing apart. The evidence pointed straight to huge Antarctic icebergs near places like the Ross Sea. And the scientists did not just guess. A few years later, researchers actually tracked a massive iceberg as it completely disintegrated. This violent breakup produced acoustic signatures that sounded remarkably similar to the bloop. The scientific case was officially closed. But the final answer was still completely terrifying. It showed us the unbelievable, destructive power of our own planet. The monster we feared all those years was entirely real. It just was not alive. The scientific truth behind the bloop is actually a massive wake-up call. An event powerful enough to cross thousands of kilometers of ocean showed us something terrifying. It showed exactly how loud it gets when massive ice fractures. The numbers surrounding this ice loss are completely devastating. Based on data from 2002 to 2023, NASA estimates that Antarctica lost roughly 150 billion metric tons of ice every single year. The bloop was not a warning designed specifically for us, but it revealed exactly what a changing planet sounds like. And the bloop was not the only strange sound recorded that year. In 1997, confused researchers also recorded a long, creepy tone that they named "slow down." NOAA later realized this was the sound of a massive iceberg crashing into the seafloor. It took 7 whole minutes to slowly grind to a complete halt. Another massive signal called train was also detected that same year. These events proved beyond a doubt that ice can produce extremely powerful underwater sounds. And the danger is not just in the southern hemisphere. At the opposite end of the globe, some climate models suggest a chilling possibility. The Arctic could experience its very first ice-free day before the year 2030. The entire planet is transforming rapidly. The ice is fracturing under enormous physical pressure, and those violent sound waves are echoing through the absolute darkest places on Earth. Today, the original audio recording of the bloop sits quietly in the massive digital archives of NOAA. The acoustic scientists who huddled together in that tense control room ended up uncovering a massive truth. A highly advanced listening system built specifically for human warfare accidentally tuned into something much bigger. It tuned into the violent, cracking pulse of the planet itself. But if you think the dark ocean is fully understood now, you are completely wrong. The ocean is still hiding things from us. For example, there is a persistent acoustic anomaly known as upsweep. It was originally discovered way back in 1991, and this strange sound is actually still detectable today. It shows a weird seasonal pattern, and researchers have broadly located it near suspected underwater volcanoes. However, its exact origin remains completely unresolved. Nobody on Earth knows exactly what is making that noise, and the biological mysteries of the deep are just as vast. We honestly do not need a mythical sea monster to be terrified of the unknown. Scientists estimate that hundreds of thousands of ocean species remain entirely undiscovered or completely undescribed. They are living right now in complete darkness, totally unknown to science. This massive abyss remains a shadow world. The mystery has not vanished at all, it has simply evolved. The deep ocean does not ask permission to be terrifying. After decades of waiting, we finally have the right equipment to hear the colossal weight of the ice breaking apart. But the truly terrifying question is not about the loud noise itself. The real nightmare is much quieter. What exactly happens to humanity when the ice finally stops making a sound?